The champagne glass shatters. Not dropped, not knocked. Thrown, hard, against Italian marble that costs more than most people earn in a year. Crystal explodes into 1,000 glittering pieces across the floor of the Lexington Avenue lounge, and every conversation dies mid-word. Malik Turner doesn't flinch. He stands at the entrance, one hand pressed against his stomach, swollen, unmistakable, heavy with life that shouldn't be here. Not tonight, not at this kind of meeting. His other hand grips the strap of a backpack that's seen better years, fraying at the edges, stained with something that might be juice or might be blood. Hard to tell in this lighting. 3 children cling to his legs, small hands, tight fists, eyes too wide for their faces. The room inhales but doesn't exhale. Malik's scent hits the air, Omega, vulnerable, 34 weeks pregnant with triplets, and it moves through the space like smoke, curling into expensive suits and designer dresses, forcing recognition no one wants to give. His posture screams retreat. His instincts beg for invisibility, but his feet won't move. Can't. The subway ride from Jersey took everything he had left, and the nausea still rolls through him in waves that taste like copper and fear. Hi viewers, kindly tell us where you're watching from and what time it is. This was supposed to be a blind date. Safe, anonymous, no judgment, that's what the app message promised. Malik almost turned back 3 times, almost, but eviction notices don't care about pride, and hospital bills don't accept apologies as payment. Desperation makes decisions that logic would never approve. The man at the center table moves. Not quickly, not loudly, just moves, stands, commands attention without asking for it. Darius Moretti wears a Tom Ford suit like a second skin, tailored so precisely it might have been sewn directly onto his body. His Rolex catches the low light, throwing fragments of gold across his dark skin. Everything about him radiates control, the kind that bends rooms, breaks wills, buys silence. He's an alpha, everyone knows it, no one says it. On paper, Darius runs a tech empire. Apple partnerships, Tesla investments. Massachusetts to California, his shipping routes move billions, but paper lies. Underneath the polish, underneath the boardroom smiles and charity galas, something else operates. Something with roots in places polite society pretends don't exist. Darius stares at Malik. His face shifts, just once, just barely, before snapping back to stone. But the men standing near the bar notice. They always notice when their boss reacts. This a joke, the voice comes from the left. Sharp, cruel, belongs to a man named Cameron Crowe, second in command, wearing Gucci-like armor and cruelty-like cologne. He sets his drink down with deliberate slowness. You bring kids and a pregnant Omega to high-end meat, that's pathetic. The smallest child flinches, buries his face against Malik's thigh. Heat floods Malik's face, not anger, shame. The kind that burns hotter than rage, the kind that makes you want to disappear into the floor. His head drops slightly. Omega instinct screaming, howling, demanding submission. I can leave, he says, quiet, controlled. I'm sorry, I didn't. No. The word cuts through the lounge like a blade through silk. Darius crosses the distance between them. 5 steps, maybe 6. He doesn't recoil from Malik's scent, doesn't hesitate. Instead, he shrugs off his Prada coat, black, pristine, worth more than Malik's entire wardrobe, and drapes it over Malik's shoulders. The fabric settles like a shield, blocking every stare, every judgment, every cruel eye in the room. You're not leaving, Darius says again. Softer now, firm, you're sitting. Someone gasps, a woman near the window, maybe 2 people. Hard to track when the room tilts like this, when reality stops making sense. Cameron takes a step forward. Boss, this is a liability, media alone. Darius turns, slowly. His eyes go cold, not angry, glacial. Another word and you're reassigned, Alaska, permanently. Cameron goes pale, shuts his mouth, steps back. Malik's legs shake. Pain spikes low in his back, sharp enough to steal breath. Darius notices. Of course he notices. He signals to staff without speaking, just a glance, just a tilt of his head, and within seconds water arrives. Cushions. Warm compresses that smell like lavender and something medicinal. The children get hot chocolate, real porcelain cups. Silver spoons from Tiffany's, the kind with weight, with value, with history they'll never fully understand. Malik's hands tremble around the water glass. You don't have to do this. Darius sits across from him, doesn't lean back, doesn't relax. I do, he says, because someone already hurt you, and tonight that stops. The children stir the chocolate with those silver spoons, and the sound, metal against porcelain, echoes louder than it should. But across the room, near the exit, Cameron reaches for his phone. And Darius sees it. Blind dates don't usually look like this. They happen in coffee shops with overpriced lattes and awkward silences that last 3 minutes too long. They happen in parks where strangers walk side by side, pretending to care about dogs they don't own. They happen on apps where profiles lie and photos filter reality into something digestible, something safe. This lounge on Lexington Avenue isn't safe. It's the kind of place where reservations require 3 phone calls and a credit check, where the lighting costs more than the rent on Malik's apartment, his former apartment, technically, since the eviction notice gave him 30 days and he's already at 27. The walls are paneled in dark wood imported from somewhere that doesn't exist on most maps. The carpet absorbs sound. The staff move like ghosts, appearing only when needed, vanishing before being noticed. People come here when they want privacy, when they want transactions handled without witnesses. Malik shouldn't be here. He knows it, the staff knows it. The 10 other patrons scattered throughout the lounge know it. But Darius acts like this is normal, like pregnant omegas with 3 children show up to blind dates every Tuesday. He doesn't apologize, doesn't explain, just makes space at the table and waits for Malik to settle into the chair, to adjust the cushions behind his back, to breathe through the contraction that isn't real labor but feels close enough to terrify. The children huddle together. The oldest, a girl maybe 7, keeps her eyes on the door, tracking exits, calculating distances. Malik recognizes that look, knows where it comes from. His sister used to look at rooms the same way, back before Connecticut, back before the hit and run that never made the news. Darius doesn't ask about the children, doesn't ask about the pregnancy, doesn't ask why Malik showed up looking like survival took everything he had. Instead, he signals for food, real food, not appetizers, not small plates designed to impress without satisfying. Actual meals, pasta, bread, soup that steams when it arrives. Eat, Darius says, not a command, not a suggestion, just a statement of fact like gravity or time. Malik hesitates. I don't. You do, Darius interrupts, because you're hungry and they're hungry. He nods toward the children. So eat. The oldest girl looks at Malik, waiting for permission, waiting for confirmation that this isn't a trap, that accepting food won't cost something they can't afford to pay. Malik nods, just once, and she reaches for the bread. Across the room, Cameron watches. His phone sits on the bar, screen dark now, message already sent. He drums his fingers against the polished wood, once, twice, a rhythm that doesn't match the jazz playing through hidden speakers. Another man stands beside him, younger, nervous, keeps glancing toward the entrance like he's expecting someone. Darius catches the glance, registers it, files it away. Malik tears bread into smaller pieces for the youngest child. His hands shake. Exhaustion maybe, fear probably. The pregnancy makes everything harder, moving, breathing, thinking. At 34 weeks, his body doesn't belong to him anymore. It belongs to the 3 lives growing inside him, demanding resources he doesn't have, energy he can't spare. He lost his job in Illinois 3 months ago. The company cited restructuring, but everyone knew the truth. Pregnant omegas don't fit the corporate image. They take leave. They require accommodations. They become liabilities. The HR director handed him the termination papers with a smile that didn't reach his eyes, and 2 weeks later, Malik found out his health insurance had lapsed retroactively. The hospital bills started arriving in stacks. An anonymous donor appeared, paid the first wave, disappeared when the complications were diagnosed. Malik never learned the donor's name, didn't ask questions when money showed up in his account, should have. But desperation makes people careless, makes them accept help without reading the fine print, without wondering what the cost might be. The youngest child drops his spoon. It clatters against the plate, too loud in the quiet lounge. He freezes, eyes wide, waiting for punishment. Darius reaches across the table, picks up the spoon, hands it back. It's fine, he says, calm, even, like dropped spoons don't matter, like mistakes aren't crimes. The child takes the spoon with both hands, doesn't look away from Darius, studying him, trying to understand. Near the bar, Cameron's phone lights up. He reads the message, smiles. Darius sees the smile, his jaw tightens, just slightly, just enough. Malik notices, is something wrong? No, Darius says. But the temperature in the room drops 3 degrees, and no one at the bar is smiling anymore. The contraction hits without warning. Malik's breath cuts off mid-exhale. His hand shoots to his stomach, fingers pressing against fabric that's stretched too thin, trying to contain too much. The pain radiates outward, sharp, focused, spreading through his lower back like something's tearing loose inside him. Not real labor, can't be, too early. But his body doesn't care about timelines or medical probability. The children see it happen. The oldest girl stands immediately, moving to Malik's side, her small hand finding his arm. Uncle Malik. He can't answer, can't breathe properly, Can't do anything except ride the wave of pressure that builds and builds and doesn't crest. His vision blurs at the edges. The room tilts. Darius moves before anyone else reacts. He's beside Malik in seconds, one hand on his shoulder, the other reaching for the water glass. Breathe, he says, low, steady, like he's done this before, like he knows exactly how this works. In through your nose, out through your mouth, don't fight it. Malik tries, fails, tries again. The contraction peaks, holds, and finally releases. He sags forward, forehead nearly touching the table, sweat beading along his hairline. False labor, Darius says, not a question, a diagnosis. How long have you been having them? 2 days, Malik's voice comes out rough, wrecked. They said it's normal, Braxton Hicks, they said. They lied. Darius pulls out his phone, starts typing, or they didn't check thoroughly enough. Either way, you're not going home tonight. Panic flares in Malik's chest. I have to, I don't have anywhere else. You do now. Darius doesn't look up from his phone. You're staying somewhere safe, somewhere with medical staff on call, somewhere those kids can sleep without worrying about who's coming through the door. Malik wants to argue, should argue, doesn't know this man, doesn't know what safe means in his world, doesn't know what price comes attached to protection. But another wave of pain rolls through him, smaller this time, manageable, and the children are watching with eyes that have seen too much, hopping for something that doesn't hurt. Why, Malik asks, why would you? Because you showed up, Darius says. Simple, final, like that explains everything. It doesn't. Across the room, Cameron shifts his weight. He's still at the bar, still watching, but his posture has changed. Tense now, alert. The younger man beside him whispers something. Cameron shakes his head, firm, decisive. Darius's phone buzzes. He reads the message. His expression doesn't change, but his eyes go colder than Malik has ever seen eyes go. Not angry, worse, calculating. Excuse me, Darius says. He stands, straightening his cuffs with precise movements. I need to handle something. You stay here. Don't move, don't leave. I wasn't planning to, Malik says. Good. Darius crosses the lounge in long strides, heading straight for Cameron. The children sense the shift. The oldest girl moves closer to Malik, her hand still on his arm. The middle child slides under the table, small body curling into a defensive position. The youngest watches Darius walk away, spoon forgotten in his hand. Malik tries to stand, his legs protest, his back screams. He gets halfway up before vertigo hits, and he has to grab the table edge to keep from falling. Staff appear immediately. A woman in a black suit, manager, maybe, or security, guides him back into the chair. Mr. Morty asked us to make sure you're comfortable, she says, professional, efficient. Do you need medical attention? No, Malik shakes his head. I just need to know what's happening. Mr. Morty is handling it. That's not an answer. Malik looks toward the bar. Darius stands in front of Cameron now, speaking in a voice too low to carry across the room. Cameron's face has gone pale. The younger man takes a step back, then another. Darius says something else. Cameron's jaw tightens. He reaches for his phone. Darius catches his wrist. Doesn't grab, doesn't squeeze, just stops the movement, holds it, waits. Cameron's hand opens. The phone drops onto the bar with a dull thud. What's he doing? Malik asks the woman in the black suit. She doesn't answer, doesn't need to. Because across the room, Cameron tries to leave. He turns toward the exit, takes 2 steps, and 3 men in dark suits materialize from nowhere, from corners, from shadows, from spaces Malik didn't know existed. They don't touch Cameron, don't threaten him, just stand there, blocking the door. Cameron stops walking. The youngest child tugs on Malik's shirt. Uncle Malik, are we in trouble? No, Malik says, but his voice doesn't sound convinced. Darius returns to the table, sits down like nothing happened, like he didn't just trap someone in a room full of witnesses. Where were we? What did you do? Malik asks. Prevented a problem. Darius picks up his water glass, takes a sip, calm, controlled. You're safe now. And him, Malik nods toward Cameron, still frozen near the exit. He's being handled. That phrase, being handled, carries weight Malik doesn't want to measure. He looks at the children, at the food on the table, at the Prada coat still draped over his shoulders. At Darius, who sits across from him like this is a normal evening, like nothing about this situation violates every social rule Malik has ever learned. I don't understand, Malik says. Darius meets his eyes, holds the gaze. You will. Another contraction builds, smaller, distant, a warning instead of an attack. And behind Darius, near the exit, Cameron makes one final attempt to reach for his phone. He doesn't succeed. The table between them might as well be a battlefield. Malik can see it in Darius's posture, the way he sits too still, the way his fingers don't fidget, the way his breathing stays measured despite whatever storm is building behind his eyes. This isn't conversation anymore. This is negotiation, or interrogation. Hard to tell the difference when you're 34 weeks pregnant and watching a man who could probably buy your entire life decide whether or not to destroy someone else's. Cameron still stands near the exit, trapped, surrounded by men who haven't moved in 3 minutes, who probably won't move until Darius gives permission. His face has gone from pale to grey, sweat beads at his temples. He's not looking at Darius anymore. He's looking at the floor, at the carpet that costs more than Malik's rent, like if he stares hard enough, it might open up and swallow him. "You didn't answer my question," Malik says. "Quiet, careful, what's happening?" Darius takes another sip of water, sets the glass down with precision. Cameron made a poor decision. Now he's learning why that was a mistake. "What kind of decision?" "The kind that affects you." Darius leans back in his chair, not relaxed, controlled. "Tell me about the anonymous donor." The shift in topic hits like whiplash. Malik blinks. "What?" "The person who paid your hospital bills 3 months ago. You said they disappeared when complications were diagnosed." Darius's voice stays even, steady, like he's asking about the weather. "Did you ever meet them?" "No, the money just appeared. Wire transfer. I thought." Malik stops, swallows. "I thought someone made a mistake, that it would get reversed, but it didn't." "Until it did." "Until the complications." Malik's hand moves to his stomach again. Protective, instinctive, then nothing, no messages, no follow-up. "The hospital started sending bills again and I couldn't." He doesn't finish the sentence, doesn't need to. The eviction notice lives in his backpack, folded and refolded until the creases have started to tear. The children's social worker keeps calling about suitable housing arrangements. The triplets growing inside him need medical care he can't afford. Everything costs something, everything has a price. "The donor was Cameron," Darius says. The words land like stones. Malik stares. "What?" "Cameron Crowe, my second in command. He arranged the initial payment through a shell company. Covered his tracks well enough that you'd never trace it, then pulled funding the moment your pregnancy became complicated." Darius's jaw tightens, just slightly, "which means he knew about you before tonight, which means this wasn't a random blind date." The lounge feels smaller suddenly, tighter. The air pressure changes like a storm rolling in without warning. Malik's heart hammers against his ribs. "I don't understand." "You weren't supposed to." Darius stands, smooth, deliberate. "That's the point. Someone set this up, sent you here, wanted you to fail publicly, wanted me to reject you in front of witnesses." He starts walking toward Cameron, slow steps, measured. They miscalculated. Malik wants to follow. Can't. His body won't cooperate, won't let him stand without help, won't let him do anything except sit here and watch as Darius crosses the room like a predator who's just spotted prey. The oldest girl climbs into the chair beside Malik, doesn't say anything, just sits close, her small shoulder pressing against his arm. The other 2 children stay quiet, watching, learning something about power they're too young to understand. Darius stops in front of Cameron, doesn't raise his voice, doesn't need to. "You paid his bills, then you stopped. Why?" Cameron's mouth opens, closes, opens again. "Boss, I can explain." "I asked why, not for excuses." "The complications," Cameron's voice cracks. "The medical reports, 3 Barbies, high-risk pregnancy, the costs would've." "Would've what?" Darius tilts his head. "Bankrupted you. Unlikely. You pull 7 figures annually, so try again. Why did you stop paying?" Silence. The jazz music keeps playing through hidden speakers. Someone at another table coughs. The staff continue moving like ghosts, pretending not to notice the confrontation happening in full view. "You wanted him desperate," Darius says, "not a question, a conclusion. Desperate enough to accept a blind date arranged through channels you controlled. Desperate enough to show up even when it didn't make sense. Desperate enough to humiliate himself in front of me." He takes 1 step closer. "What was the plan, Cameron? I reject him publicly, damage his reputation, prove to everyone watching that I'm exactly the monster they think I am." Cameron's shoulders curl inward, defensive. "It wasn't." "It was." Darius's voice drops lower, colder, "and it was stupid because now you've made this personal. Now you've involved someone who had nothing to do with our business, someone vulnerable, someone carrying children." He pauses. "Someone I'm now responsible for protecting." The last sentence hangs in the air like a verdict. Malik's chest tightens. You're not responsible. I am, Darius says without turning around, because you walked into my meeting, because Cameron used you as a weapon against me, because if I let this go, if I let you leave here without protection, then every enemy I have will know exactly how to hurt me. He finally looks back at Malik. So yes, I'm responsible now, whether you want me to be or not. It's not a promise, it's a statement of fact, like gravity, like time. Cameron tries one more time to reach the exit, takes 2 steps. The guards don't move, but somehow the space between them shrinks, becomes impassable. Cameron stops, turns back. Boss, please. You're done, Darius says. Simple, final. Security will escort you out. You'll receive severance and a termination letter by morning. If you attempt contact with Malik or anyone connected to him, if you make any public statements about tonight, if you even think about retaliating, he doesn't finish the threat, doesn't need to. Cameron's face crumbles, not with fear, with understanding. Whatever life he had 5 minutes ago no longer exists. The guards move, quiet, efficient. Cameron disappears through the exit without another word. Darius returns to the table, sits down across from Malik like nothing happened, like he didn't just dismantle someone's entire existence in under 3 minutes. The children need proper beds tonight. You need monitoring. I have a residence in Maryland, medical staff, security. You'll stay there until the Barbies are born. I can't. You can and you will, Darius signals to the staff, because the alternative is worse, and we both know it. Malik looks at the children, at the empty plates, at the Prada coat still warming his shoulders, at Darius, who just destroyed his second-in-command for something Malik didn't even know was happening. What does this cost? Malik asks. Protection like this, what do you want in return? Darius meets his eyes, doesn't look away. Nothing you're not willing to give. It's not an answer, it's another layer of mystery. And across the lounge, through the window, Malik sees Cameron standing on the sidewalk, sees him pull out a second phone, one the guards didn't take, sees him make a call. Darius sees it too. His expression doesn't change, but his hand moves to his own phone, and his fingers start typing with the precision of someone who's done this 1,000 times before. The Maryland estate appears through rain-streaked windows like a fortress dressed as a home. Stone walls, iron gates, security cameras positioned every 12 feet, tracking movement before it happens. The driveway curves through manicured gardens that probably require a full-time staff, leading to a house that's too big to be called a house. Mansion doesn't even cover it. This is the kind of place that has wings and guest quarters and rooms no one uses, except when hiding things that shouldn't be found. Malik sits in the back of the SUV, children asleep against him, and wonders what kind of mistake he's made. The car stops, staff appear immediately, different people than the lounge, same efficiency. A woman in medical scrubs waits by the entrance. An older man in a dark suit holds an umbrella despite the fact that the walkway is covered. Everyone knows their role. Everyone moves like this happens regularly, like pregnant omegas with 3 children show up in the middle of the night all the time. Welcome, the woman says, professional smile, kind eyes. I'm Dr. Raina Pierce. I'll be monitoring your pregnancy until delivery. She doesn't wait for Malik to respond, just guides him inside, her hand gentle on his elbow, her voice steady as she lists what's available. Private suite, medical equipment, 24-hour care. The children wake as they're carried inside. The oldest girl grips Malik's hand, doesn't let go, won't let go. Darius walks beside them, still in the Tom Ford suit, still moving with that precision that makes every gesture look rehearsed. He doesn't explain, doesn't justify, just leads them through marble hallways and past artwork that probably costs more than Malik's entire education. The suite is on the 2nd floor, 3 bedrooms connected by a sitting room, windows overlooking gardens that disappear into darkness, furniture that's been carefully selected to look comfortable rather than expensive, even though Malik can tell it's both. Dr. Pierce sets up monitoring equipment, blood pressure cuff, fetal heart rate monitor, IV stand just in case. She works quickly, explaining everything in a voice that's calm without being condescending. You'll need bed rest for the next week minimum. The contractions you've been having are preterm labor warnings. Not emergent yet, but close. We'll be monitoring every 4 hours. Malik nods, doesn't argue, can't argue. His body made the decision for him somewhere between the lounge and the car ride, between consciousness and exhaustion. The children get their own room, clean beds, new clothes laid out, toys that still have tags attached. The middle child picks up a stuffed animal, some kind of bear wearing a bow tie, and hugs it like it might disappear if he lets go. Darius stands in the doorway, watching, not interfering. There's food in the kitchen, Staff will bring whatever you need. If you require anything, press the call button. He gestures to a panel on the wall. Someone will respond within 90 seconds. Why? Malik asks again. Same question as before, still no good answer. Because you needed help, Darius turns to Lave. That's not a reason, that's an excuse. Darius pauses, looks back. You're right, the real reason is that Cameron thought he could use you to expose a weakness in me. He thought if I rejected you publicly, if I proved myself to be exactly what people fear I am, then he could leverage that, build a case, take control. His voice stays even, measured. He was wrong, so now you're here and he's not. That's still not a reason to help me, that's a reason to remove a threat. You were never the threat, Darius says. You were the test, and I don't fail tests. He leaves before Malik can respond. Dr. Pierce finishes setting up the monitors. Get some rest. The contractions will probably continue, but they should stay manageable. If anything changes, pain, bleeding, water breaking, you call immediately. Don't wait, don't hesitate. Malik lies down on a bed that's too soft, in a room that's too quiet, in a house that's too safe. The children sleep in the next room. The monitors beep steadily, tracking 3 heartbeats that aren't his own. Sleep doesn't come. Instead, pain does. Small at first, manageable, the kind that's been background noise for 2 days, but it builds, slowly, then faster. The contractions return with force, tightening across his stomach like hands squeezing, pressure mounting until breathing becomes work. He presses the call button. Staff arrive within 60 seconds, Dr. Pierce within 90. She checks the monitors, her face calm but focused. False labor still, but you're at 35 weeks now, close enough that we need to be ready. I'm calling in the full team. Full team. Obstetrician, neonatal specialists, surgical staff just in case. She adjusts the IV. Triplets are unpredictable, we're not taking chances. More people arrive. The suite transforms into something between a bedroom and a medical facility. Equipment, monitors, a surgical tray positioned nearby, just visible through the doorway. Darius returns, still dressed, hasn't slept. He doesn't ask permission to enter, just does, stands near the wall where he's not in the way but not absent either. You don't need to be here, Malik says through gritted teeth. Another contraction building. I know. Then why? Because no one else is. Darius's voice is quiet, honest, and no one should go through this alone. The contraction peaks. Malik's hand shoots out, grabbing the rail on the bed, knuckles going white. Dr. Pierce talks him through it, breathe, focus, release, but the pain doesn't care about technique. It just exists, demands, takes. Hours pass, or maybe minutes. Time stops making sense when pain becomes the only measure of reality. The children wake. The oldest girl appears in the doorway, frightened. Darius intercepts her before she can enter, kneels down, speaks quietly. Malik can't hear the words, but the girl nods. Lets Darius guide her back to the other room. Returns 5 minutes later with all 3 children fed, calm, distracted. How does he know how to do that? Malik wonders. How does someone who runs an empire know how to calm frightened children? Another contraction, stronger this time. Dr. Pierce checks the monitors. Still preterm labor, but you're dilating. Slowly, we might need to intervene if this continues. Intervene how? C-section, emergency delivery. It's not ideal at 35 weeks, but triplets rarely make it to full term anyway. Better to deliver in a controlled environment than risk complications. Malik's chest tightens. They're not ready. They're ready enough. Dr. Pierce's hand finds his shoulder. Steady pressure. You've done everything right. Sometimes biology doesn't cooperate. That's not your fault. But it feels like fault. Feels like failure. Feels like one more thing Malik couldn't control, couldn't fix, couldn't do well enough. Darius moves closer. Doesn't touch, doesn't crowd. Just exists in the space beside the bed. They'll be fine, you'll be fine. You don't know that. I do, confidence without arrogance, because I've seen worse, and you're stronger than you think. Malik wants to believe him. Can't. The pain builds again, and this time it doesn't stop, doesn't plateau, just keeps climbing until Dr. Pierce's calm expression shifts to something more urgent. We need to move now, she says. This isn't stopping, we're delivering tonight. Staff mobilize. The suite transforms again, from bedroom to operating room in under 3 minutes. Surgical lights, sterilized equipment, a team of people whose names Malik doesn't know and won't remember. Darius steps back, gives space, but doesn't leave. You should go, Malik says, voice rough, scared. I'm staying. Why? Because you asked me to. Darius meets his eyes, holds the gaze. You didn't say it out loud, but you asked. The monitors beep faster. Dr. Pierce gives orders. Someone adjusts the IV. Someone else preps instruments that Malik doesn't want to see. And then everything moves too fast to track. Surgical drape, anesthetic, counting backward from 10. Malik makes it to 7 before the world disappears. The crying wakes him. Not his own, 3 voices, tiny, urgent, demanding attention with the kind of persistence that won't be ignored. Malik's eyes open to fluorescent lights dimmed low, to the smell of antiseptic and something metallic he can't identify. His body feels disconnected, like someone took him apart and reassembled the pieces incorrectly. Pain registers slowly, dull ache across his abdomen, pressure where there shouldn't be pressure. He tries to sit up, can't. The surgical incisions pull, sharp enough to steal breath. Don't move, Dr. Pierce appears beside the bed. You're still recovering. C-section was successful. 3 healthy Barbies, 2 boys, 1 girl. They're in the NICU for observation, but all vitals are strong. The words hit like delayed impact. Barbies, 3 of them, alive, breathing, real. I want to see them. Tomorrow, after you've rested. Dr. Pierce adjusts something on the IV stand. Right now, your body needs to heal. You lost more blood than expected. Nothing dangerous, but enough that we're being cautious. Malik's hand moves to his stomach, finds bandages instead of the weight he's carried for months. The absence feels wrong, like someone removed a part of him without permission. Where's, he stops, doesn't finish the question, doesn't know which name to use. Darius, Mr. Morty, the man who paid for all of this. He's with the children, Dr. Pierce says, reading his mind, or maybe just reading his face. They woke up frightened. He's keeping them calm until you're ready. That image doesn't compute. Darius, Alpha, CEO, whatever he really is, sitting with 3 kids who aren't his, reading stories or playing games or doing whatever people do with frightened children at 3 in the morning. Malik closes his eyes, tries to process, tries to understand how his life went from eviction notices to surgical recovery in a Maryland estate in less than 48 hours. The door opens, footsteps, measured, familiar. You're awake, Darius's voice, quieter than before, tired maybe. Dr. Pierce said you'd be disoriented. How's the pain? Manageable, Malik opens his eyes. Darius stands near the foot of the bed, still wearing clothes from yesterday, shirt wrinkled now, tie gone, sleeves rolled to his elbows. He looks human, almost, the children. Fed, bathed, asleep again. Darius moves closer. The oldest one, Amara, asked if you were going to die. I told her no. Was I wrong? No, Malik's throat tightens. You weren't wrong. Silence settles between them, not uncomfortable, just present, waiting for something neither of them knows how to start. Cameron, Malik says finally, what happened to him? Darius's expression doesn't change. He's no longer a concern. That's not an answer. It's the only one you need. Darius sits in the chair beside the bed, moves like someone who's been sitting there for hours, like the furniture has formed to fit him. There's something you should know about your sister, about the hit and run in Connecticut. Malik's chest tightens. What about it? It wasn't random. Darius pulls out his phone, shows Malik a file, police report, incident photos, witness statements. Cameron arranged it, not directly. He hired someone who hired someone, 3 layers of separation, but the trail leads back to him. The room tilts. Malik's hand grips the bed rail. Why? Your sister witnessed something, a transaction, money moving through channels it shouldn't. She didn't know what she saw, didn't understand the significance. But Cameron couldn't risk exposure. Darius swipes through more documents. He ordered the cleanup, made it look like an accident, paid off the investigating officers, buried the evidence. Rage builds in Malik's chest. Hot, consuming. You're telling me my sister died because she saw something she didn't even understand? Yes. And you knew this, when? Tonight, after Cameron made that call outside the lounge. Darius sets the phone aside. My people traced his communications, found the connection, confirmed it an hour ago. An hour ago, Malik's voice rises. You've known for an hour and you're just telling me now. You were in surgery, there was nothing you could do with the information. Darius leans forward, elbows on knees, hands clasped. But now you can, now you have a choice. What choice? Justice, real justice. Not the kind that disappears in police reports and closed cases. The kind that holds people accountable. Darius meets his eyes, doesn't look away. I can make Cameron pay for what he did. Legally. through channels that can't be bought or buried, but only if you want me to. Malik wants to scream, wants to throw something, wants to make Cameron hurt the way his sister hurt, the way those children hurt when they lost their mother, but his body won't cooperate, won't let him do anything except lie here and feel rage without release. Why would you do that? Malik asks. Why would you care about justice for someone you didn't know? Because you care, simple, direct, and because power means nothing if it's not used to protect people who can't protect themselves. The monitors beep steadily, the IV drips. Somewhere down the hall, one of the Barbies cries again, quieter this time, soothed by whoever's holding them. I want him to pay, Malik says, quiet, firm. I want everyone who helped him to pay. I want my sister's name cleared. I want those children to know their mother didn't die because of some random accident. Darius nods, once, then it's done. Just like that. Just like that, he stands. Rest now. Tomorrow you'll see the Barbies. Meet the staff who will help you recover. Start learning how to be a parent to 6 children instead of 3. 6, Malik repeats. The number feels impossible. You'll manage. Darius moves toward the door, pauses. For what it's worth, your sister would be proud. You showed up tonight even when everything told you to run. That takes strength most people don't have. He leaves before Malik can respond. The room falls quiet again, just the monitors, just the distant sound of Barbies and staff moving through hallways. Malik closes his eyes, and for the first time in months, something like hope surfaces beneath the exhaustion. But in the back of his mind, a question lingers, one he didn't ask, one Darius didn't answer. What happens when Cameron realizes he's been caught? The arrest happens without cameras. No press, no spectacle, just federal agents appearing at Cameron's apartment at 6 in the morning with warrants and evidence that's been building for weeks. He doesn't resist, doesn't argue, just stands there in his designer pajamas while they read charges that keep multiplying: conspiracy, manslaughter, obstruction of justice, wire fraud, money laundering. The list goes on for 3 minutes. Darius watches it happen from a car parked 2 blocks away, doesn't need to be present, doesn't need to gloat, just needs confirmation that the system he set in motion is working exactly as designed. His phone buzzes with updates every 30 seconds. Cameron in custody, Cameron refusing counsel, Cameron asking to make a deal. Too late for deals. Darius puts the phone away, drives back to the estate, arrives as dawn breaks over the gardens, turning everything gold and soft in that way mornings do when pretending the world is gentle. Inside, the house is waking, staff moving through routines, medical personnel checking monitors, and in the NICU, a room that's been converted from what used to be a study, 3 Barbies sleep in their incubators, tiny fists curled, breathing steady. Malik sits in a wheelchair beside them, still recovering, still moving carefully, but present, alert, staring at the Barbies like he's trying to memorize their faces, like if he looks away they might disappear. Cameron's been arrested, Darius says from the doorway, doesn't announce himself, doesn't need to. Malik doesn't turn around. When? This morning, federal charges, he'll be arraigned by noon. Will he get bail? No. Darius moves closer, stands beside the wheelchair. Flight risk, multiple charges, history of obstruction, the judge won't allow it. Malik nods slowly, and the hit and run, my sister's case. Being reopened, new evidence. The officers who buried it are under investigation. Your sister's name will be cleared by the end of the week. Darius watches the Barbies. 2 of them stir, small movements, not quite awake. It's over, Malik. Cameron can't hurt you, can't hurt them, can't hurt anyone else. The words should feel like victory, should feel like closure. Instead, they just feel empty, like winning a game no one wanted to play. What happens now? Malik asks. You recover, the Barbies grow, the children adjust to their new siblings. Life continues. Darius pulls up a chair, sits. You'll have support, medical care, financial stability, everything you need. For how long? As long as you want. Darius leans back. I'm not asking you to leave, I'm not setting conditions. This isn't a transaction. Malik finally looks at him. Then what is it? Protection without possession. Darius's voice stays even. You're free to leave whenever you choose, free to rebuild your life however you want. I'm just providing resources while you figure it out. It sounds too good, too clean, too easy. Malik's learned the hard way that nothing comes without strings, without hidden costs, without prices that get revealed later. Why? Malik asks again, same question, different weight this time. Darius is quiet for a long moment. watching the Barbies, watching Malik, deciding something, because I was you once, different circumstances, different decade, but I know what it's like to need help and have everyone turn away. I know what it's like to survive alone because no one thought you were worth saving. He meets Malik's eyes. So when someone shows up at my door, vulnerable and desperate, I have two choices. I can be the person who turned me away. Or I can be the person I needed back then. The confession hangs in the air like something fragile, something not meant to be examined too closely. Malik doesn't push, doesn't ask for details, just accepts the truth behind the words and lets it settle. One of the Barbies wakes. The girl, small cry, not urgent, just present. The nurse moves to pick her up, but Malik reaches out first. Can I? Of course, the nurse places the baby in Malik's arms. Careful, gentle, supporting the head. The baby weighs almost nothing, feels impossibly small. Her eyes are closed still, face scrunched, searching for something she can't name yet. Malik holds her like glass, like something that might shatter if he breathes wrong. You're a natural, Darius says. I'm terrified. Same thing, a small smile, brief. Terror means you understand the stakes, that's half the battle. The baby settles against Malik's chest, finds comfort there, falls back asleep with tiny, perfect breaths. Malik looks at Darius, at this man who destroyed his second-in-command, who arranged federal arrests, who runs an empire built on things polite society doesn't discuss, and sees something unexpected, something that doesn't fit the reputation or the rumors or the fear everyone carries when his name gets mentioned. Thank you, Malik says, quiet, honest. Darius nods, stands, get some rest. Tomorrow we'll start planning long-term arrangements. Housing, education for the older children, medical follow-ups. He moves toward the door, pauses. And Malik, you're safe here. That's not temporary, that's permanent. Remember that. He leaves. The NICU falls quiet again. Just the soft hum of equipment. Just the Barbies breathing. Just Malik holding his daughter and wondering how life can change so completely in 72 hours. But outside, 2 blocks from the estate, a car sits with its engine running. Inside, someone watches the house through binoculars, takes photos, makes notes, sends encrypted messages to people whose names don't appear in any database. Cameron's arrest wasn't the end. It was the announcement. The routine settles in like dust. Morning feedings at 6. Medical checks at 8, physical therapy for Malik at 10, walking the halls, rebuilding strength, learning to carry Barbies without tearing surgical stitches. The older children start tutoring sessions with an instructor who arrives daily, who doesn't ask questions about why 3 kids are suddenly living in a Maryland estate. Lunch at noon, afternoon naps, evening feedings, bedtime stories that Malik reads in a voice still rough from exhaustion. 2 weeks pass. Then 3. Malik's body heals, slowly. The incisions fade from angry red to pink to pale scars that Dr. Pierce says will barely be visible in a year. The Barbies gain weight, learn to focus their eyes, start making sounds that aren't quite language but close enough to make everyone stop and listen. Amara, the oldest girl, asks fewer questions about when they're leaving, starts unpacking the backpack she's kept ready by the door since they arrived. The middle child stops checking exits. The youngest plays with toys without clutching them like they'll be taken away. Darius appears daily, sometimes twice, never intrudes, just exists in the space, checking in, confirming everyone has what they need, handling problems before Malik knows they exist. He never stays long, never asks for anything, just provides and leaves. It feels sustainable, feels stable. Feels like it might last. Then the letter arrives. Not through mail, not through any normal channel. Just appears one morning on the kitchen counter, where Malik is feeding one of the Barbies. The boy who fights the bottle, who takes 20 minutes to finish what should take 5. The envelope is plain, no return address, no postage, just his name written in precise handwriting that looks computer-generated. Malik opens it with one hand, bottle balanced in the other. Inside, a single photograph. His sister, outside the warehouse where she died, date stamped 3 days before the hit and run. She's talking to someone whose face has been digitally blurred. The image quality is professional, surveillance grade, the kind of photo that takes planning and equipment and intent. On the back, 4 words, she knew too much. Malik's hand shakes, the bottle slips, formula spills across the counter and he barely notices. His heart hammers, his chest tightens, the scar across his abdomen burns like it's reopening. He calls for Darius. Doesn't press the call button, doesn't go through staff, just stands there in the kitchen and calls his name loud enough to carry through walls. Darius arrives in under a minute, sees the photo, sees Malik's face, doesn't ask questions, just takes the envelope, examines it, pulls out his phone. Where was this? Kitchen counter. I came down to feed him and it was just there. Which means someone entered the house. Darius's voice stays calm, but his eyes go hard. Someone bypassed security, got inside, left this without being detected. He taps his phone, speaks quickly. Lock down the estate, full sweep. No one enters or exits until we find how they got in. Alarms sound, quiet, not blaring, just steady tones that signal staff to implement protocols they've practiced but never used. Doors lock automatically. Windows seal. Security personnel appear from places Malik didn't know existed. Who sent this? Malik asks. Cameron's in custody. Who else? Cameron had partners. Darius moves to the window, scans the grounds. People who funded his operations. People with interests in keeping certain transactions buried. Your sister's death protected more than just him. So this is what? A threat? A warning. Darius turns back. They want you to know they can reach you. That protection has limits, that you should stay quiet about what you know. I don't know anything. I didn't even know Cameron existed until you told me. But they think you might. Think your sister told you something before she died, or that you'll find evidence she left behind. Darius's jaw tightens, which means they're scared, and scared people make desperate choices. The baby starts crying, hungry still, confused by the tension in the room. Malik picks up the bottle, tries to continue feeding, but his hands won't stay steady. We need to move you, Darius says, somewhere more secure, somewhere they can't predict. Where's more secure than this? 3 locations, all off any database, all protected by people who owe me more than money. Darius starts typing on his phone again. You'll leave tonight. The children, the Barbies, medical staff, everyone. We'll rotate between locations. Never stay anywhere longer than a week. For how long? Until we find who sent this, until we neutralize the threat. Darius looks at him. I know this isn't what you wanted. I know you just started feeling safe, but safety was always conditional. Now we make it permanent. Malik wants to argue, wants to say this is too much, too extreme, that surely there's another option. But he looks at the Barbies, at Amara hovering in the doorway with frightened eyes, at the photo on the counter showing his sister days before someone decided she was disposable. Okay, Malik says, we'll move. Darius nods, pack only essentials, we leave in 3 hours. Staff mobilize, the house transforms from home to evacuation site, bags appear, cars get loaded, medical equipment gets transferred, the Barbies get secured in carriers designed for transport, the older children get told they're going on an adventure, which isn't quite a lie but isn't quite the truth. Malik watches it happen with exhausted detachment. This is his life now, running, hiding, hoping that whoever wants him silent doesn't have the resources to find him again. Dr. Pierce approaches. You're healing well enough to travel, but you'll need continued monitoring. I'm coming with you. You don't have to. I do. She adjusts her medical bag. Those Barbies need specialized care. You need post-surgical support, and frankly, I don't trust anyone else to do it right. 3 hours later, they leave. Not through the front gate. Through a service entrance Malik didn't know existed, through gardens that lead to a private road, into vehicles that have been swept for tracking devices 3 times. Darius rides in the lead car, Malik in the second with the Barbies, the older children in the third with Dr. Pierce, a convoy, a small army, all moving through darkness toward a destination no one will name out loud. And somewhere behind them, the person who left the photo watches through binoculars as the estate empties. Makes a call. Sends coordinates. Waits. The safe house sits in Western Virginia, buried in mountains that don't have names on most maps. No driveway, no address, just a dirt path that winds through trees for 2 miles before opening to a structure that's half cabin, half fortress. Stone walls, reinforced doors, windows that are actually bulletproof glass designed to look like normal panes, solar panels hidden in the tree canopy, water from a private well, internet that routes through 7 countries before connecting. This isn't temporary shelter, this is preparation for siege. They arrive at dawn. The Barbies are crying, all 3, a chorus of hunger and discomfort and confusion about why their routine got disrupted. The older children stumble from the cars, half asleep, disoriented. Dr. Pierce immediately starts setting up medical equipment in what used to be a bedroom, transforming it back into a makeshift NICU. Malik collapses into a chair, every muscle aches. The surgical incisions throb from sitting too long in a moving vehicle. His mind feels wrapped in cotton, processing everything 3 seconds too slow. Darius appears with coffee, real coffee, hot, perfect. Drink this, you'll need it. Malik takes the cup. How long do we stay here? As long as it takes. Darius sits across from him, looks as tired as Malik feels, which is somehow comforting. My team is tracking the photo, analyzing the paper, the ink, the handwriting. We'll find who sent it. And then what? Then they join Cameron. Simple, final, like discussing the weather. One of the Barbies screams louder. Malik starts to stand, but Dr. Pierce waves him off. I've got them, you rest. She's already holding one bottle ready, moving with efficiency that comes from decades of practice. The sun rises slowly. Light filters through the trees, turning everything green gold. Birds start singing. Normal morning sounds. Like the world doesn't know that 6 people are hiding here, that somewhere someone is hunting them, that safety is measured in days rather than years. Weeks pass. The investigation continues in fragments. Darius's people find connections, shell companies, offshore accounts, communication patterns. They trace the photo to a print shop in Delaware that doesn't keep records. Dead end. They analyze the handwriting. Computer generated. Another dead end. They search for anyone who knew Cameron well enough to continue his work. 3 names surface. All with ties to shipping routes. All with money that doesn't match their reported income. All with reasons to want Malik's sister's death to stay classified as an accident. Darius doesn't tell Malik the names, just says, we're getting close. During this time, something shifts. The Barbies develop personalities. The oldest boy, Malik, names him Rashad, screams when he's hungry and goes silent when satisfied. The girl, Kiana, watches everything with intense focus, tracking movement, studying faces. The youngest boy, Terrell, sleeps more than seems possible, waking only for food and immediate return to dreams. The older children adjust. Amara starts teaching the middle child, Jamal, how to read chapter books. The youngest, Elijah, discovers he's obsessed with maps, spending hours tracing roads, memorizing distances, asking questions about where places are and why they matter. And Malik learns to be a parent to 6. It's chaos, it's exhausting, it's terrifying, but it's also real in a way nothing else has been. These children depend on him, not on money, not on protection, on him specifically, on his presence, his attention, his willingness to show up every day even when everything hurts. Darius watches it happen, doesn't interfere, doesn't offer advice, just exists in the background, handling security, coordinating investigations, making sure food arrives, making sure the children have what they need. One evening, after the children are asleep, Malik finds Darius on the porch, sitting in darkness, staring at the trees. You didn't sign up for this, Malik says. Neither did you. Darius doesn't turn around, but here we are. Why are you still here? You could assign people to protect us. You don't have to be present. I could. Darius is quiet for a long moment, but I am. That's not an answer. It's the only one I have. Darius finally looks at him. You showed up at that lounge carrying 6 lives. Yours, 3 children, 3 Barbies not yet born. You showed up desperate and vulnerable and still trying to be strong. And I decided in that moment that you deserved better than what you'd been given. So I'm here, making sure you get it. The confession sits between them. Honest, unguarded, more real than anything else Darius has said. I don't know how to thank you, Malik says. Then don't. Darius stands. Just raise those kids. Give them the life your sister wanted them to have. That's enough. Inside, one of the Barbies starts crying. Then another, the nightly feeding cascade beginning. Malik goes to help and Darius follows, and for a few hours they're just 2 people managing 6 children in a cabin hidden in mountains. The investigation breaks 2 days later. Darius's phone rings at 4 in the morning. He answers, listens, hangs up, turns to Malik, who's awake feeding Kiana. We found them, all 3 partners. Evidence sufficient for federal charges. Arrests happening now. Now, as in right now. Simultaneous raids. Maryland, New York, California. They can't warn each other, can't destroy evidence, can't run. Darius checks his phone again. It's over, Malik. The threat is done. It should feel like relief, like victory, like the weight finally lifting. Instead, it just feels like exhaustion. What happens now? Malik asks. You decide. Darius sits beside him. You can stay here. You can return to the estate. You can go anywhere you want. You're free. Free, the word sounds foreign, like something from a language Malik used to speak, but can't quite remember. I don't know where I want to go, Malik admits. Then stay here until you do. Darius reaches out, adjusts the bottle angle slightly. Kiana drinks easier. There's no rush, no deadline, just time to figure out what life looks like now. The sun rises again. Light fills the cabin. The older children wake and the daily routine begins. Feeding, changing, teaching, playing. Normal life in a not normal situation. But somewhere in Maryland, federal agents are closing handcuffs around wrists that thought they were untouchable. And somewhere in this cabin, 6 children are safe. Spring arrives with cherry blossoms and air that doesn't hurt to breathe. The Virginia cabin remains, not as a hiding place now, as a home. Malik made that decision 3 weeks after the arrests, after the federal prosecutor confirmed all 3 partners would face trial, after Darius explained that the estate in Maryland had been sold and the proceeds put into a trust for the children's education. "You don't need my protection anymore," Darius said. "You need your own space, your own choices." So Malik stayed in the cabin, made it his, turned the NICU back into a bedroom, converted the security room into a study, planted a garden that Amara helps maintain, built something that resembles normal, even if normal looks different than anything he imagined. The Barbies are 7 months old now. Rashad sits up on his own. Kiana babbles constantly, testing sounds, practicing language. Terrell crawls with determination that outpaces his coordination. The older children attend school online, video calls with teachers who don't ask about their past, who just focus on math and reading and science. Life continues. Not perfectly, not easily, but steadily, with routine that feels earned rather than imposed. Darius visits monthly, always calls first, always asks permission, never assumes access. He brings supplies sometimes, food, clothes, books the children requested, but mostly he just checks in, makes sure everyone's healthy, makes sure Malik isn't drowning under the weight of 6 lives to manage. "You're doing well," Darius says during one visit. They're on the porch again, watching the older children play in the yard, better than most people would. "I don't have a choice." Malik adjusts Kiana on his hip. She's trying to grab his coffee, small hands reaching with impressive persistence. "They depend on me." "You always had a choice." Darius takes Kiana, letting Malik drink in peace. She immediately tries to grab his watch instead. "You chose to keep them together, keep them safe. That's not obligation, that's love." The word sits there, simple, true, uncomfortable. Malik hasn't thought about it in those terms. Love feels too big, too generous for what he's doing. He's just surviving, just making it through each day, just hoping he doesn't fail these children the way the system failed them. But maybe that's what love looks like when you strip away the poetry, just showing up, just staying, just refusing to abandon someone who needs you. "The trial starts next month," Darius says. "Federal prosecutor wants you to testify. You don't have to. They have enough evidence without your statement, but it would help." "Testify about what? I didn't see anything, didn't know anything until you told me." "Testify about impact, about what your sister's death cost, about 3 children who lost their mother because someone decided she was inconvenient." Darius hands Kiana back. She's given up on the watch, settling against Malik's shoulder. Sometimes juries need to see the human cost, not just the legal violations. Malik considers it, going back to Maryland, sitting in a courtroom, facing the people who decided his sister's life was worth less than their secrets. "Will you be there?" "If you want me to be." "I do." "Then I will." Darius stands, prepares to leave, pauses. "There's something else. The anonymous donor who originally paid your hospital bills, before Cameron took over." "What about them?" "That was me." Darius meets his eyes, holds the gaze. 3 months before we met, I read about your situation in a grant application your hospital filed, saw your name, saw the complications, saw that no one was helping, so I arranged payment, anonymous, through channels that couldn't be traced." The confession lands like a stone. "You," Malik stares, "but why? You didn't know me." "I knew enough, pregnant Omega, no support, system failing, that's all I needed to know." Darius moves toward his car. "Cameron found out, traced the payment to one of my accounts, decided to use it against me, took over the donor role, stopped payment when complications arose, thought he could manipulate you into a situation that would expose me. So this whole thing, the blind date, the lounge, everything. Was Cameron trying to weaponize my attempt to help you?" Darius opens the car door. He miscalculated, didn't realize that protecting you would matter more to me than protecting my reputation. Malik's chest tightens. "You never said anything." "Because it wasn't about recognition, it was about doing what needed to be done." Darius gets in the car, starts the engine. "I'll see you at the trial." He drives away before Malik can respond. The afternoon continues. Children playing, Barbies napping, dinner to prepare, homework to supervise, bath time, bedtime stories, all the small tasks that build a life. But that evening, after everyone's asleep, Malik sits on the porch alone, thinks about blind dates that weren't random, about anonymous donors who weren't strangers, about protection that never asked for possession, about power used quietly, without announcement, without expectation of gratitude. Most people will never know this exists. The system that failed him, the system that killed his sister, the system that nearly destroyed 6 children, that system is visible, public, documented in policies and procedures and official statements. But the system that saved him, the one that showed up when everything else walked away, that system operates in silence, in private transactions, in people like Darius who decide that vulnerability deserves protection, not exploitation. The trial happens 5 weeks later. Malik testifies, tells the jury about his sister, about the children, about losing everything because no one thought they were worth saving. The defense attorneys try to make him look unstable, desperate, unreliable, but the evidence doesn't care about perception. The paper trail is clear, the connections are documented, the guilt is established. All 3 partners are convicted. Cameron gets 25 years, the others get similar sentences. Appeals will happen, probably, but for now justice exists, imperfect, incomplete, but real. Afterward, on the courthouse steps, reporters ask Malik how he feels. He doesn't answer, just holds Kiana closer. Signals for the car, goes home. Because feelings don't matter as much as what comes next. The children growing, the Barbies learning to walk, the garden producing vegetables, the homework getting harder, the life continuing. Darius doesn't ask for updates, doesn't require reports, just deposits money monthly into an account Malik didn't set up but that has his name on it. Enough for food, clothes, medical care, education. Not excessive, just sufficient. Protection without possession, like he promised. Years pass. The Barbies become toddlers, then kids, then teenagers. Amara graduates high school early. Jamal discovers he's brilliant at mathematics. Elijah becomes obsessed with architecture, designing buildings he'll probably build someday. Rashad plays basketball. Kiana writes poetry. Terrell learns to code. They thrive, not because life became easy, but because someone decided they deserved a chance to try. And on a spring morning 20 years after that blind date, Malik sits on the porch of a cabin in Virginia that's been expanded twice, remodeled 4 times, filled with photographs and memories and proof that survival is possible. His phone rings, unknown number. He answers, "Hello. This is Dr. Pierce. I'm retiring next month, wanted to let you know personally. Congratulations, you've earned it. I have something for you, a file, medical records from your first night at the estate. Thought you might want them, for the children, so they know their story." "I'd like that. I'll send it over." She pauses. "You did well, Malik. Those kids are lucky to have you." "I'm lucky to have them." The call ends. The morning continues. Normal life in an extraordinary situation that became ordinary through repetition and time. Most people will never know this exists. The quiet protection, the anonymous help, the decision to use power for something other than control, it's not celebrated, not publicized, not rewarded with recognition. But it exists, in silence, in people who show up when everyone else walks away, in systems built by individuals who understand that strength means protecting the vulnerable, not dominating them. And sometimes when everything aligns, when desperation meets compassion, when someone arrives at a blind date carrying 6 lives and finds an alpha willing to protect instead of possess. Sometimes survival becomes more than endurance. Sometimes it becomes a life worth living. Thank you for watching this story. If you found inspiration in Malik's journey, in Darius's quiet strength, or in the proof that protection without possession is possible, please subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next story. We share these narratives to inspire, to challenge, and to remind us all that power used with compassion can change everything. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your story might inspire someone who needs to hear it. Until next time, remember, strength isn't dominance, love isn't possession, and sometimes the most unexpected arrival changes everything for the better.